Get that on Amazon.com. His website is called Marxist.com. You can't beat that. And then, boy, and what are some of the books you've written that you wanted to share with the audience?
Pardon?
Some of the books that you've written that you wanted to share with the audience, Franco, The Great Betrayal, and Reason and Revolt.
Yes, there's those. There are many others, but those are some. And there is another one I wrote, which is A History of Bolshevism, which is quite a substantial work, which took me some years to write. History of the Bolshevik Party, And there are many others, actually. There's one in Venezuela. There's one on the States now called Marxism in the USA. There we are. I've forgotten all about that. This is a fairly short work, if that's available. Marxism and the USA.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We'll be right back with more of Alan Woods after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Hey, check out our brand new sponsor, Dynamic Solutions 2. That's the number 2. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions. 424-888-2820. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. You get a 10% discount. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call. 218-568-2525. 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Don't forget, Thursday evening, 7 p.m., we have that new project, GetVocal.com. It's a live video podcast. This week I have Mark Ebner coming on to talk about his book about his kidnapping in Mexico. Mr. Woods, do you do you have any suspicions about the death of Mr. Chavez?
No, actually. I mean, I have reason to believe. I went there after he died. Last time I went there, actually, and I spoke to a good friend of mine who had been a member of Chavez's first government, was a doctor, and I asked him, was he poisoned? Because there were stories were going around at the time, which is natural, I suppose. And he didn't hesitate this is a doctor, he didn't hesitate to reply. He said, no, the president died of natural causes. And the reason was he didn't look after himself. Now, I know this to be true. He didn't look after himself. He hardly slept. He never stopped working. And I've got plenty of anecdotes which I could say about that. He didn't even take time off, which is a foolish mistake that he made, to take a yearly medical examination. Had he done so, they'd have discovered the cancer earlier on and he could have been saved. But he didn't. He had no thought for his own health and safety even. So that is my take on it anyway.
You know, that's interesting. Just today they were reporting that the best way to treat the coronavirus is to get the patients out of the hospital and away from the doctors quicker than you can. I think it's best to avoid. I myself try to avoid doctors and hospitals as much as I can, you know. And, but many people do now, except for the unfortunate doctors and nurses who got no choice in the matter. And of course, because they don't have adequate protective clothing and equipment, they're also the first ones to die. And that's the case in Britain. Many of them have died already. And it's prohibitive to visit a doctor if you don't have medical insurance or you don't have you can't afford it. And even with insurance, you get these astronomical bills. The number one cause of bankruptcy here in the United States, 70% of bankruptcies are due to medical bills. So,
good God.
Good Lord. Talk about a boost to the economy, you know?
It beggars, I just can't understand this. It beggars the comprehension of any sane person that the wealthiest country in the world is in this position, that it allows its citizens to die of elementary health problems because there's no coverage. Now, there's no other civilized or semi-civilized country would tolerate such a thing as that. So that's the first thing that should be tackled in the States, I think.
Well, but one major issue here is that in the United States, especially in a high school education and even, what do you call a community college, we do not learn here the concept of socialism or communism or even capitalism. We don't learn these concepts here. They're not. One of the main reasons why Bernie had to drop out was because people would be afraid of the word socialist. That people couldn't learn even though Bernie Sanders, could you really call him a socialist? He was more like a welfarist, he wasn't talking about nationalizing anything. Yeah.
Well, you say, first of all, I don't know. Well, you say people would never have voted for Bernie Sanders. Well, that's the story that they put around. I remain unconvinced. On the contrary, I believe that the only candidate that could really have defeated Trump was Bernie Sanders. I'm firmly convinced of that.
No, I agree with you 100%. I was saying what the news media was saying is that people.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, the reason they say that he's under that, same as in Britain with Jeremy Corbyn, by the way. Ferocious press camp, the so-called free press. Don't make me laugh. The billionaire press, these sharks, these hired prostitutes, so-called free press. They're not free at all. They jump to the service of Wall Street. That's what it boils down to. Because anyone that's seen as even remotely a threat to that system, he's a fair target, as was the case with Chavez, as was the case with Bernie Sanders, and in Britain, as the case with Jeremy Corbyn. Well, unfortunately, they succeeded in getting Corbyn to step down as Labour leader. And in the States, they compelled. Well, I don't know. I think that Bernie could have put up a bit more of a fight. He could have stuck to his guns, and he didn't. I think that was a bad mistake, but there you are. Just my opinion. But no, what is significant is not that. what is significant, highly significant. Here's a man. Just to remember, Ed, here's a man that only a couple of years ago was virtually unknown except for a small handful of political analysts. Hillary Clinton was known to everybody. And he took her on, and he took on the apparatus of everybody, and he won. It's astonishing. With huge success, huge mass meetings, huge drive to raise funds from the grassroots and so on. Now, that's what frightened them, really. And by the way, there's a PS to that, which seems to demonstrate the correctness of what I'm saying. I noted that about 12 months ago, I don't know if you must have noticed that, the White House produced a lengthy document against socialism. Did you know that?
I did know that. I did, because you're right.
You would. Of course, in the States it would be known. In Britain it's not known. But I mean, surely that's highly significant. I mean, the White House, I don't think they'd ever done such a thing. Produce a document. And if they did so, Ed, there's only one reason. The reason is not that they were convinced that socialism could never succeed in an election in America, but precisely the opposite. They were convinced that socialism, they said so themselves in the document, was gaining ground alarmingly, and that they could, in fact, win. That's why they produced this material. That explains the ferocity of the press campaign also.
Yeah, but it's amazing. Here Bernie was so popular, and he did inspire so many people, especially the young. But who is there? Politicians can see there's a market for that idea. They can see there's a market for it. How come no one's stepping into that void to take up that mantle?
Well, that's a good question. But I don't know. Perhaps it's the wrong question. Perhaps you could ask another question, and it is, what is remarkable to me is not what you said. I mean, there are people that claim to be socialists. I've got some doubts about their credentials. I won't mention any names for fear of causing offence. But what is remarkable to me is the enormous groundswell of support, not just among young people, particularly among young people, but not only. I met a few people in the States that were quite getting on in years that were also supporters of Bernie Sanders. That is the point, and that's the great hope for the future, And that's still there, by the way, except to say that because Bernie's there, I think he threw in the towel far too soon and far too willingly. And by the way, I'm sorry to see that he's supporting Biden now. I think that's a big mistake. That's the case of that. That's disappointed many people, unfortunately. But the groundswell of support for socialist ideas is still there. I'm firmly convinced, and it is growing.
Well, then why don't we do this? Why don't you explain to the average American how they would benefit under a socialist economic system here in the United States?
Well, first of all, I don't think it would take much to convince people that the present setup is not satisfactory. That's the starting point. The colossal, you see, they say there's no money and so on. There's vast fortunes, trillions of dollars in the hands of the bankers and the wealthy, the fat cats in Wall Street. Now, the question I would ask you in America is, look, surely, given all the horrors of the present crisis, to look no further, the mass graves and the other horrors, there's no need for me to elaborate on. Surely there's a pressing need that this money should be used not for private profit, but for the interests of the generality of the average American citizen, if you want to put it, Joe Public, if you want to put it like that. Now, that's I think, an unanswerable argument. Next step, the big pharmaceutical companies and the other sharks that make profit out of people's health and lives and death, which is frankly immoral. First step, take them over. And by the way, I wouldn't pay them a penny or a cent in compensation. Not a red cent. By the way, I can cite before people start thinking about Russia and so on, I can cite a very good American example for that. You know who confiscated most, perhaps more than any other man in history? Abraham Lincoln. Oh, yes. When he freed the slaves, that was a massive confiscation for which no compensation, not a cent of compensation was ever paid. So I would say, well, look, if it's good enough for good old Abe, it's good enough for us. Let us take over the fat cats. And by the way, I clarify this because that's where the confusion comes in. I'm not talking about the small man, the middle class, the small farmer, the small shopkeeper, the small person that owns. Not interested in that. Not interested in them. We're interested in the people that really hold the economic power. That's to say, what used to be called the command